والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا وحبيبنا وطيب قلوبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رضي الله عنا وعنكم عن كافة المؤمنين. We'll continue inshallah ta'ala reading this section on Sabr and Shukr, and Imam Ghazali explained different methods that can be used to obtain Sabr. And just a second. Okay, so he explained like how can one gain sabr, and he outlined different methods that can be used to gain sabr. And basically he defines sabr as making the religious drive defeat the hedonistic drive of excessive pleasures. So what can one do to make the religious drive, the normative, the moral drive, defeat or subjugate, put under control the excessive desire for pleasures? So he will conclude this section inshallah ta'ala, and we will be reading the last part of it. فإذا ما ذكرناه في علاج الصبر عن الوسواس وعن الشهوة وعن الجاه أضفه إلى ما ذكرناه من قوانين طرق المجاهدة في كتاب رياضة النفس من ربع المهلكات واتخذه دستورك. So now Imam Ghazali is linking what he talked about with what he has told us in Kitab al Riyadat. So he says that ما ذكرناه في علاج الصبر عن الوسواس وعن الشهوة. So you need sabr against waswas, the whisperings or the inner speech, hadith nafs, that continues, inside one. And these are also called khawatir. Sometimes they are called khawatir. Sometimes they are called hadith nafs. So sometimes waswas, so you need sabr against these waswas, khawatir, and hadith nafs, which aims to mislead you. And then also an shahwa, and this desires. The desires are normally needed, for human life to continue, but when it becomes excessive, when they transgress the lawful boundaries, then it becomes haram. Some religions, like Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, they are completely against shahwa. They are completely against any desire. So you should not have any property, you should not have any family, so their goal is to kill the shahwat, kill all the desires. But the Islamic approach is not to kill the shahwat, because there is an hikmah, there is a reason why Allah Ta'ala created those shahwat. So like if people don't have desire to eat, they would die from hunger. If people don't have any desire to marriage, the human kind may come to an end. If people don't have any desire to make money and have property, then no one would work. So all these desires are needed. There is a hikmah, there is a wisdom why Allah Ta'ala, put these desires inside of us. But what would be wrong is when these desires transgress the lawful boundaries drawn by Sharia, drawn by normativity, then it becomes wrong. But there is always a push, there is always a drive, inside human beings, which comes from shaitan to make them transgress the lawful boundaries. Okay, and there you need sabr. to stop your shahwa within the lawful boundaries. وعن الجاه, and also jah means popularity, to be accepted, to be appreciated by other people. So that's conformism. You can say conformism also, to get accepted, by people, to be applauded by people. So sabr is the ilaj. Sabr is the medication, against waswas. Sabr is medication against shahwa. Sabr is medication against al-jah, excessive shahwa, excessive jah, excessive these things. So all these things that mentioned above, أضفه إلى ما ذكرناه من قوانين طرق المجاهدة. Add these things to what I have mentioned, to the laws of methods of inner struggle. في كتاب رياضة النفس, in the chapter on رياضة النفس, disciplining the self. So we have already read the Kitab Riyadat al-Nafs. So there, Imam Ghazali mentioned Qawaninu Turukul Mujahada, the rules of inner struggle. So the methods of inner struggle. So he mentioned these things. So he's saying that what I have mentioned about, these should be coupled with what I have already mentioned in the previous chapter. وَاتَّخِذْهُ دُسْتُورَكَ, and make them your constitution, your main principles, your fundamental principles. Then you will succeed. Then you will succeed. لتعرف به علاج الصبر في جميع الأقسام التي فصلناها من قبل. So if you do this, then you will be able to know sabr for all kinds of needs. So he says, I have mentioned to you in detail, many occasions where you need sabr. So if you combine what I have mentioned above with what I have mentioned in the previous chapter on Riyadat al-Nafs, then you are fully equipped, against any misguidance, against any deception. So you will have sabr in all occasions. So these are like major principles. So Imam Ghazali says, if you have these things in mind, then you are fully equipped. فإن تفصيل الآحاد يطول, because detailed explanation of every instance takes a long time. So rather than going into like each instance where you need sabr and how you can have sabr, so he's saying, I am giving you main principles, qawanin turkul mujahada. So if you keep these things in mind, you are all set. وَمَنْ رَاعَ التَّدْرِيجَ تَرَقَّى بِهِ الصَّبْرُ إِلَى حَالَةٍ يَشُكُّ عَلَيْهِ الصَّبْرُ دُونَهُ كَمَا كَانَ يَشُكُّ عَلَيْهِ الصَّبْرُ مَعَهُ فَتَنْعَكِسُ أُمُورُهُ فَيَصِيرُ مَا كَانَ مَحْبُوبًا عِنْدَهُ مَمْقُوتًا وَمَا كَانَ مَكْرُوهًا عِنْدَهُ مُشَرَّبًا هنيئا ومشربا هنيئا لا يصبر عنه وهذا لا يعرف إلا بالتجربة والذوق. So like among all these methods he mentioned, he emphasizes one method which is very, very important, and it is tadrij, gradual movement, gradual education. وَمَنْ رَاعَ التَّدْرِيجِ, so whoever practices, at-tadrij, whoever observes the method of at-tadrij, gradual education, gradual discipline, tarakka bihi as-sabr. This way, his sabr develops, gains more strength. إلى حالة يشق عليه الصبر دونه. His sabr develops to a state, and he shows sabr against certain things. Without sabr, he cannot survive. كما كان يشق عليه الصبر معه. Similar to the way, he could not show patience with them before. But if you gradually, strengthen, if you gradually develop your patience, at the end, you reach to a level, you show sabr against things you could not show sabr before. Your sabr becomes like so powerful. فَتَنْعَكُسُ أُمُورُهُ. So this way, his state is reversed. How? فَيَصِيرُ مَا كَانَ مَحْبُوبًا عِنْدَهُ مَمْقُوتًا. Something that's desirable for him becomes disgustable. Something he liked before, now he disgusts that thing. He dislikes it. Why? Because of this gradually strengthening the sabr. وما كان مكروها عنده مشربا هنيئا لا يصبر عنه. And the same way, something which was disliked, abhorrible by him, becomes very attractive. It becomes his joy. He cannot do without it. So, through gradual education, through gradual increasing the sabr, so he can reverse his habits. He can change his habits. وهذا لا يعرف إلا بالتجربة والذوق. So Imam Ghazali is saying that the impact of tadrij in self-education, in self-disciplining, cannot be known except by practicing it, except by experimenting it. Dhawq means inner experience. Inner experience. So one can know the role of gradual progress in developing and empowering sabr by experience, by practicing it. وله نظير في العادات. But this is comparable to habits. This is comparable to other habits. فإن الصبي يحمل على التعلم في الابتداء قهرا. For instance, a child is forced to learning, to studying by force. فيشق عليه الصبر عن اللعب والصبر مع العلم. So he finds it real difficult to forbear, staying away from play, and also, perseverance, showing patience to study for education. So in the beginning, it becomes very difficult, very challenging for him to stay away from play and to study. حتى إذا انفتحت بصيرته وأنس بالعلم انقلب الأمر. But you make the student gradually get used to studying, get used to learning slowly, and at the end, his vision is opened up, وأنس بالعلم, and he becomes familiar with education. He becomes familiar with knowledge. Knowledge becomes attractive to him. انقلب الأمر. So the situation is reversed. فصار يشق عليه الصبر عن العلم والصبر على اللعب. Then it becomes difficult for him to stay away from education, and it becomes difficult for him to show sabr while playing. so he cannot continue playing for a long time. He wouldn't be able to show sabr, for too long to play, because he now knows the taste of studying. So you see how through gradual education, habits are reversed. So if this happens in a child who's completely like alien to studying and learning and finds it really difficult, to abandon playing and spend time with studying. Same thing with adults when it comes to other things. So if they also use gradual sabr, they can reverse, their habits, and they can have more powerful sabr. وإلى هذا يشير ما حكي عن بعض العارفين. So there are some reports, from some arifin. So arif is different than alim. Alim is the one who is equipped with rational sciences, and arif is the one who's equipped with ma'rifah or irfan, and it is the knowledge gained through pious practices, through opening the eye of the heart, through mukashafa, so this is called irfan. So there are two types of knowledge, ilm and irfan. So ilm is kasbi, it is acquired through studying, research, and reading, and it's rational. And then there's irfan. Irfan is wahbi, it's graced by Allah Ta'ala to his servants whom he loves because of their pious practices. So ilm is acquired through ta'lim, and irfan is acquired through tazkiyah. So the subject of tasawwuf is irfan and ma'rifah, and the subject of fiqh, kalam, it is ilm. So the ideal scholar is someone who combines ilm and irfan together. Like Imam Ghazali himself is arif and alim. He's expert in fiqh, kalam, philosophy, but at the same time, he's expert in tasawwuf. So he combines both of them. So they are the top elite scholars in Islam. So one of those arifs, it is reported from them that أنه سأل الشبلي عن الصبر. So he asked الشبلي about sabr. أيه أشد؟ فقال الصبر في الله تعالى. فقال لا. فقال الصبر لله. قال لا. قال الصبر مع الله. قال لا. قال فإيش؟ قال الصبر عن الله. فصرخ الشبلي صرخة كادت روحه تتلف. Yes. So Shibli asked, أيه أشد? يعني which sabr is the most difficult sabr? So فقال الصبر في الله تعالى. Is الصبر في الله is the most difficult one? And he said لا. فقال الصبر لله. Is it the most difficult kind of sabr? Is الصبر لله? فقال لا. No, it is not. And then asked الصبر مع الله. Is it sabr مع Allah? He said لا. لا, no. قال فيش أي, يعني which one is the most difficult sabr? And he said الصبر عن الله. Yeah, sabr, to stay away from Allah Ta'ala, to stay away from Allah Ta'ala, and atheist life, an atheist life, or a life in negligence, in ghafla from Allah Ta'ala. This requires the most challenging sabr, the most difficult sabr. So a sabr fillah, that means This is the early stage of suluk. You know, traveling in the spiritual path while having faith in Allah Ta'ala, while having love for Allah Ta'ala. That's the meaning of as-sabru fillah. You already have faith in Allah. So this as-sabr fillah comes after as-sabr ilallah. So first as-sabr ilallah, journey to Allah Ta'ala. Then after you reach to love of Allah Ta'ala, to faith in Allah Ta'ala, that stage is called as-sabr fillah. One already believes in Allah Ta'ala. One already has love for Allah Ta'ala. One already makes the ultimate goal of his life to gain pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. That's as-sabr fillah. So is this the most difficult sabr? He said no. Then called as-sabr lillah. Showing sabr for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. He said no. And then as-sabr ma'allah. Showing sabr while one is completely together with Allah Ta'ala. So complete together with Allah Ta'ala means complete hudur billah, complete zikr, seamless, continuous zikr of Allah Ta'ala. So like these are different spiritual states in as-sayr wa suluk. So he's asking which stage requires the most difficult kind of sabr. So he's expecting that people who go through as-sayr wa suluk, the spiritual journey of cleansing themselves and increasing their love for Allah Ta'ala, their obedience to Allah Ta'ala, and their zikr to Allah Ta'ala, they have difficult time, and they need sabr. But the answer is very different. This Arif, he says, no, none of these things. Being away from Allah requires the most difficult sabr, because when someone is disconnected from Allah Ta'ala, then he needs biggest amount of sabr, because his life is very difficult, very challenging. So this answer really shocks Shibli. So he screams and as if he's going to die. وقد قيل في معنى قوله تعالى اصبروا وصابروا ورابطوا اصبروا في الله وصابروا بالله ورابطوا مع الله. So in the explanation of the verse isbiru wasabiru warabitu, so isbiru means show patience, and sabiru means show patience together, or advise enjoying patience to each other. So advise patience to each other, like show patience yourself and advise patience to each other, because وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْمَرْحَمَةِ أُولَٰئِكُمْ أَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ. So the good people, they advise, enjoin to each other to be patient and to be compassionate. And also in Surah Al-Asr, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. So sabiru means advising patience to each other. So be patient yourself, and also advise patience to each other. Warabitu, and be connected. Be connected, be tied together, bound together to each other. So in the tafsir of this verse, they said that isbiru fillah, show patience while practicing your religion after you believed in Allah Ta'ala, after you committed yourself to the path of Allah Ta'ala, then have patience. And wasabiru billahi, And when you are in the path of Allah Ta'ala, when you are practicing good deeds, then advise patience to each other in practicing whatever Allah Ta'ala ordered to you, and also in staying away whatever Allah Ta'ala prohibited to you. So وَسَابِرُ بِاللَّهِ وَرَابِتُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ, and also bound together with Allah Ta'ala, in making zikr of Allah Ta'ala, and around the love of Allah Ta'ala, be connected with each other. So you need, like here, sabr is mentioned in two forms, that isburu fillah, you yourself practice sabr, like after you believe in Allah Ta'ala, you need sabr in practicing whatever Allah Ta'ala has ordered and whatever Allah Ta'ala has prohibited. But at the same time, you need to advise enjoying sabr to each other, in doing these things, and also rabitu, be connected around the love of Allah Ta'ala. وَقِيلَ الصَّبْرُ لِلَّهِ عَنَاءٌ وَالصَّبْرُ بِاللَّهِ بَقَاءٌ وَالصَّبْرُ مَعَ اللَّهِ وَفَاءٌ وَالصَّبْرُ عَنِ اللَّهِ جَفَاءٌ. So it's also said that الصَّبْرُ لِلَّهِ عَنَاءٌ, so showing sabr for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, this is a difficulty, this is a burden, this is a challenge. وَالصَّبْرُ بِاللَّهِ بَقَاءٌ, but having sabr while one in the path of Allah Ta'ala, so this is survival, this is baqa. وَالصَّبْرُ مَعَ اللَّهِ وَفَاءٌ, and after one is united in his consciousness, with the dhikr of Allah Ta'ala, and while one is at this stage, if one shows sabr, this is loyalty to Allah Ta'ala. So these are like different spiritual stages in Sufi's life, in the life of somebody who's committed to make spiritual progress in cleansing his nafs. As-sabru lillah, as-sabru billah, as-sabru ma'allah, was-sabru anillah jafa'un. But showing patience, not to get connected with Allah Ta'ala, resisting to believe in Allah, resisting to submit oneself to Allah Ta'ala, and exercising forbearance while resisting to submit oneself to Allah Ta'ala. That kind of sabr is big pain, big torture, because those atheists, who deny Allah Ta'ala, so they are resisting, they are showing forbearance not to accept God, not to submit themselves to God. So they are fighting, against their inner drive to have faith and to submit themselves to God. وَقَدْ قِيلَ فِي مَعْنَاهُ, in the same meaning, it is said that وَالصَّبْرُ عَنْكَ فَمَذْمُومٌ عَوَاقِبُهُ وَالصَّبْرُ فِي سَائِرِ الْأَشْيَاءِ مَحْمُودُ. So the poet said, وَالصَّبْرُ عَنْكَ فَمَذْمُومٌ عَوَاقِبُهُ, showing forbearance to stay disconnected from you, O my Lord. It has very negative consequences. So those atheists, those who deny Allah Ta'ala, those who resist to submit themselves to Allah Ta'ala, they also need lots of forbearance in their lives. So, but this kind of sabr has lots of negative, destructive, detrimental consequences on their lives. فَالصَّبْرُ فِي سَائِرِ الْأَشْيَاءِ مَحْمُودُ. But other than that, in other things, forbearance, sabr is something really good. وقيل أيضا, it is also said that الصبر يجمل في المواطن كلها إلا عليك فإنه لا يجمل. So it is said that oh my Lord, sabr is good in all issues, in all places, in all occasions. Sabr is really good, except against you. Sabr against Allah. Forbearance, resistance against Allah Ta'ala, فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَجْمِلُ. Because this kind of sabr, to resist, accepting Allah Ta'ala, to resist surrendering to the orders of Allah Ta'ala, to resist against the messenger of Allah Ta'ala, that kind of sabr is not good. هذا آخر ما أردنا شرحه من علوم الصبر وأسراره. So Imam Ghazali is saying that this is the last thing that I want to explain to you about sabr and its secrets. So now, he's starting discussion about shukr. So better not to start shukr this week, inshallah. If Allah Ta'ala gives us life and health, we can do this next week, Bismillah Ta'ala. So if you have any questions, please go ahead. Sadak, you have a question? Sadak. Sadak, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam.
How are you? I'm
good,
from
Alhamdulillah.
India.
How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm from, I told you last week I was from Sheikh Nazim Akani's Murid.
Okay.
He spoke. Regarding the sabr, I have some queries. I have two friends. One is poor and cleaning the streets, and another friend is rich. And he was always, there is a fight between these two friends. Keep on going.
I cannot clearly understand you. Your voice is not so clear.
Now, how about now?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I have two friends. Regarding the sabr, I have a question that I have two friends. One friend is an orphan and poor guy who is cleaning the streets. Another guy is a rich guy, have a good job, and every time these two people keep on fighting. So I sometimes they ask me to judge. So what I have to do with these people? Keep on fighting. Should I allow them to fight or else make them to calm down?
Yes. Yeah. This is a useless question. Of course, we have to make them, make peace between them.
But this
you should not even ask this question, Yani. As a Muslim, it is, the answer is so clear. Your job is to make peace, between these kind of people.
But there is a dominance. Always this rich guy trying to dominate the poor guy, and poor guy try to explain, but it's not happening. So,
yeah, so have sabr. Have sabr. Always try to make peace between them, inshallah ta'ala. You need a lot of sabr, in this kind of situations, to make peace, between Muslims who are fighting with each other. So today, we need to make sulh, because in the Quran, Allah Ta'ala says, when you see, two Muslim brothers, sisters, fighting with each other, make peace among them. So this is an order from Allah Ta'ala, and you practice this order of Allah Ta'ala and to try to make peace between them. Do your best, but the result may not always be there. But our responsibility is to do our best to make peace among our brothers and sisters, inshallah.
Yes, thanks, sir. Thanks, sir.
Okay,
thanks.
Okay, my dear. So is there anyone else with any question? Okay, it seems everything is very clear. Jazakumullah khairan. Fi amanillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Hocam.
Allah razı olsun. Allah razı olsun.